Why did God use ravens? The meaning most people miss. Why would God use ravens? Think about that carefully. Out of all the birds that could have been chosen, why ravens? Not doves, not eagles, not majestic birds that people typically admire. Ravens. Dark, unclean according to ancient law, often associated with isolation and wilderness. Yet in one of the most surprising stories in Scripture, ravens became providers. Why? Because maybe this story was never only about birds. Maybe it was about challenging assumptions. In the story of Elijah, a severe drought had come upon the land. Resources were scarce. The future looked uncertain. And during that difficult season, ravens brought him food. Now pause for a moment. Why is that detail so unusual? Because people naturally expect help to come from familiar places, predictable places, comfortable places, expected places. But the story moves in the opposite direction. Provision arrived through something unexpected, something most people would never have chosen. And maybe that is why this story still matters today. Because humans often decide in advance what solutions should look like. They create expectations. They create timelines. They create specific outcomes in their minds. And when help arrives differently than expected, they fail to recognize it. Think about modern life. People often say they are waiting for an opportunity, but sometimes opportunities arrive disguised as inconvenience, disguised as change, disguised as something unfamiliar. And because it does not look the way they imagined, they overlook it. The story of the ravens challenges that way of thinking. It reminds people that solutions do not always arrive in familiar packaging. Sometimes the answer comes from a place nobody expected. Think about how often this happens. A conversation changes someone's future. A setback opens a new door. A disappointment redirects a life. An unexpected person provides exactly the encouragement someone needed. Yet none of those things looked important in the beginning. And maybe that is one of the deepest lessons hidden in the story. People focus so much on the form of the solution that they miss the solution itself. They become attached to how they think help should arrive. But reality often works differently. Now think carefully about the raven itself. Ravens were not admired. They were not symbols of beauty. They were not considered prestigious. Yet they were chosen. That detail changes everything. Because humans constantly judge value based on appearance. People assume the most impressive source must be the most important source. The most visible person must be the most influential. The most successful-looking opportunity must be the best opportunity. But the story suggests something different. Value and appearance are not always the same thing. Something ordinary can carry extraordinary significance. Something overlooked can become unexpectedly important. And maybe that still happens every day. Think about the people history often remembers. Many were overlooked at first, misunderstood, ignored, dismissed. Yet they eventually played significant roles because potential is not always obvious immediately. The same principle appears throughout Scripture. Again and again, unlikely people become part of important stories. Unexpected places become locations of transformation. Ordinary objects become symbols of profound lessons. And ravens fit that pattern perfectly. They remind us that significance is not always found where people expect it. Now consider another layer of the story. The ravens arrived during a drought. Think about that carefully. Provision did not arrive after the crisis ended. Provision arrived during the crisis. That is important. Because many people assume difficult seasons automatically mean abandonment. They assume hardship means nothing good can happen. They assume challenges eliminate possibilities. But this story presents a different perspective. The drought remained real. The difficulty remained real. The uncertainty remained real. Yet provision still appeared. And maybe that is why the story resonates so deeply. Because life is rarely free from challenges. People face uncertainty, financial pressure, emotional struggles, unexpected setbacks. Yet sometimes help appears in the middle of difficulty rather than after it. Now think about modern culture. People are constantly searching for certainty, control, predictability. But some of life's most important lessons emerge during uncertainty, during waiting, during seasons when people cannot see the full picture. And perhaps that is why the ravens matter. They represent unexpected provision during uncertain times. They remind people that not everything valuable arrives according to personal expectations. Not every solution is obvious. Not every answer is predictable. Not every opportunity looks impressive at first. Sometimes the very thing people dismiss becomes the thing they need most. Now imagine if Elijah had refused to accept provision because it came through an unexpected source. Imagine if he had focused only on what seemed logical. He would have missed what was already being provided. And maybe that still happens today. People become so focused on one possible answer that they overlook other possibilities. They become so committed to one path that they fail to recognize new opportunities. They become so attached to expectations that they miss reality. That is why flexibility matters. Humility matters. Awareness matters. Because help does not always arrive the way people expect. The story of the ravens reminds us that provision can come from surprising places, unexpected people, unexpected opportunities, unexpected circumstances. And perhaps the deeper lesson is this: do not become so attached to your expectations that you miss what is already being placed in front of you. Because sometimes the answer you are looking for arrives in a form you never would have chosen. So the real question is not, why did God use ravens? The real question is, what opportunities, solutions, or blessings might people be overlooking today simply because they arrived from an unexpected source? Think about that carefully. Because what seems ordinary, unlikely, or unexpected today may carry more significance than you realize. If this message made you think differently, subscribe to Grace Unseen for more hidden biblical truths, deeper meanings, and powerful lessons from Scripture that most people overlook. And before you go, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced something valuable coming from a place you never expected? Your story may encourage someone else who needs that reminder today.